Hi guys, thank you so much for tuning in this morning. Hopefully you can all hear and see me okay. I'm sure Alex, our text whiz, will let me know if you can't. My name is Samantha Charlton and I'm here to talk to you today as an Olympic ambassador, which means I've had the absolute privilege of representing New Zealand at the Olympic Games. My Olympic number is 1132, which means I am the 1,132nd New Zealander to compete at the Olympic Games in the history that New Zealand's been competing at the Olympics. So it's something that I'm super proud of. I know some of you would have tuned in and listened to some of the other ambassadors talk about their Olympic experience and what the Olympic values mean to them. And today I'm going to share with you 3 different parts that are really important to me. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you a little bit about and share with you is my journey to becoming an Olympic athlete, because this is something that doesn't just happen overnight, and I know there was lots of really valuable lessons that I learned along the way, and I'd love to share them with you. Secondly, I'm going to talk to you about one of the Olympic values today, which is excellence, and I know that you've heard lots of the other guys talk about excellence as well, but I think one of the really cool things about values is that they can be really personal and individual to everybody. So, a value might mean something slightly different to everyone. And so you can place your own sort of understanding on that. So I'm going to share with you what excellence means to me and sort of how that relates to my overall journey. And lastly, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about one of my other favorite things that I love sharing, and that is nutrition. So outside of being an athlete, I studied nutrition at university, and I absolutely love being able to share positive messages about food and health, and you'll see how nutrition does tie into my value of excellence a little bit later on. Before I start, make sure if you have any questions, please just pop them into the comment section, and I'll try and answer as many as I can at the end. They might be about hockey or the Olympics or anything I speak about, or they might even be about nutrition, which would be really cool. And if we don't have time to get to all of the questions at the end, I'll make sure I pop on later today and answer them for you. So, the beginning. So my sport that I competed at the Olympic Games, as lots of you already know, is hockey. I'm very proud to be a part of the New Zealand women's hockey team, and we are called the Black Sticks. So I started playing hockey when I was just 5 years old, and this here is a picture of me on my very first day of hockey. So that's my sister Anna on the left and my brother Chris on the right. I was the oldest of the 3 of us, so that's me at my first day of hockey. And I am now 28. So if you're super quick at maths, you can maybe pop in the comment section, how many years you think I've been playing hockey for. Hot tip, it's probably longer than a lot of you guys have been alive for. Hockey wasn't the only sport that I played when I was growing up. I loved playing lots and lots of different sports, and I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to do so. So I loved to play cricket, I played netball, I did both athletics and cross country, and I actually played indoor beach volleyball right up until my last year of school. So I didn't just choose one sport at the beginning. I played as many sports as my mum and dad would let me. And the cool thing about playing so many different sports is you learn lots of different skills that can kind of help you in the different sports that you may want to specialize in later on. So I didn't start playing only hockey basically until I left school, so when I was 18, and I really value all those other sports because I think they taught me quite a bit. So obviously I had to be part of many different teams, so I felt like it helps you become a really great teammate, because you have to learn to be a part of all those different teams. Or for example in hockey, we have to try and be super fit and run around the field really quickly. So I feel like some of the running that I did in athletics and cross country really helped me to sort of enjoy running and try and get fitter and faster along the way. Another thing that I think is really important for everyone to understand about my journey, and it's probably the same for a lot of other people's journeys to becoming an Olympic athlete or playing sport for New Zealand, is I wasn't always the very best player, and I didn't always make the A team. I remember there were times when I was younger and I desperately wanted to be selected into a rep team, but I made the B team instead. Or later in my journey, I really wanted to make the New Zealand under-18 team in my last year of school, but I didn't get selected. And I think one of the things that people think about Olympic athletes or athletes that represent their country is that they were always the very best and they made every single team. And for some people, this is totally how it happens. They were really awesome from a really young age and they were great the whole way through and they do make it to the Olympics or playing for their country. But for others, it doesn't always happen like this. And every journey is really, really different. So when I didn't make the New Zealand under-18 team, I thought my journey had been completely ruined, and I thought it would be so hard for me to get to my goal of being a black stick. But I feel like sometimes these setbacks, they teach you lessons like, not giving up and being more determined. And funnily enough, my journey wasn't ruined. I continued to try really hard and I played my first game for the Black Sticks when I was 18 years old, so I just finished school. And I did find it really difficult at the start. It took me a long time to feel comfortable and settled in the team because it's a big transition moving from school or rep hockey to playing international hockey. But one of the stories that I wanted to share with you in particular is how I got to play my first Olympic Games in 2012. We've just had a hello from room 16 in Ponsonby. Thank you guys for so much for tuning in. But yeah, I wanted to share with you specifically how I got to play my first Olympic Games in 2012. It was one of the most rewarding and hardest years of my life, and I learned some really, really important lessons. So at the end of 2011, I was selected into the Olympic squad, and there were 25 players, and only 16 were going to be selected for the Olympics, so that meant that 9 was going to miss out. I was one of the youngest in the squad at the time. I was selected into the squad when I was 19, so I knew my chances of making it weren't very high, but I was really hopeful and I was keen to, give it a good go. And throughout the year in 2012, so the Olympics were in August, there were 4 different tours that the team was going to go on before the team was going to be selected in July, and you wanted to try and make as many of those tours as possible, picked as many times as you can to give yourself the best shot of proving that you should be in the team. And the first one was a home series against Argentina at the start of the year, so Argentina came to New Zealand to play us, which I wasn't selected for. I was obviously pretty disappointed at the time, but I thought, okay, there are still plenty more opportunities. I'll still try and work hard to get selected for one of them. So I went back to training, continued to try hard, and then the next selection came around. And it was a 4 nations tournament with India, Japan, and Australia. They were coming to New Zealand to play us, but I wasn't selected. And I thought, okay, same deal, but disappointed, but there's still a few more opportunities. I'll give it maybe a shot. And then the third one came along. It was another 4 nations tournament against the same teams. And I thought, okay, third time lucky, here is my chance. But I wasn't selected. And at this point, every other player in the squad had been selected for one game, at least one game, apart from me. So at this point, I thought my chances weren't very high. There was one more final trip to China and Korea before the Olympic team was going to be selected, which was still a while away. And at this point, my coach asked to have a meeting with me. And he said, look, I'm really, really sorry, but we aren't going to select you for the Olympics this year. We know you're trying really hard and you're giving it your best, but, you're just a bit young, you're too inexperienced, and it's just not going to work out. And at this point, I was really, really upset. I probably cried. And my coach said, look, even though we aren't going to pick you for the Olympics, would you still come along to the trainings for the rest of the year to help the other girls out? And at the time, I didn't even give 2 thoughts. I said, yep, straight away, of course I'll come. No, I've got nothing else to do, really. And then I went home and I sort of thought, oh no, what have I done? This is going to be really hard. I'm helping to train for a team that I know that I can't be selected for. And at that point, I felt like I really had to make a decision. I could go to training and I could mope around like a sad sack and not really do much and be quite probably not a very good influence on the others around me. Or I thought, I could try and focus on something else to get me through. So I knew my hockey skills weren't going very well, but the one thing I could control was how hard I suppose I tried in trainings and how hard I ran. And at that time, at the start of every week, we had a meeting on a Monday and our GPS scores were put up on a big screen in front of everyone. And they measured how far and how fast we ran in training. So I just decided that I would try and get as high up that list as I could. I would try and, win the GPS because there wasn't much else I could do at the time. So I went to trainings and I just ran as hard and as fast as I could, and it wasn't easy. It was actually really, really hard, but it did give me some purpose and something to focus on outside of my hockey. And without realizing it, because I was trying so hard, I actually started to get fitter. And because I started to get fitter, my hockey really started to improve as well, because I wasn't having to think about being tired or running, it just came a bit more naturally. And I didn't notice any of these things at the time, but my coach did. So when the team was selected for Korea and China, this was the last tour before the Olympic team was selected. My name was on it, and I thought, oh, that's weird. I've already been told I'm not going to the Olympics, but cool, I'm happy to go and play some games. I was pretty stoked. And I just kept doing what I was doing, and sure enough, I was selected into the 2012 Olympic team, which is something I'm super, super proud of. Even though I was told really early on that I wasn't going to make it, I decided to focus on things that I could control and not give up and be super determined in everything I was doing. So yeah, it was a really difficult year, but one that I learnt a lot about myself. So I was very privileged to play my first Olympic Games in 2012 in London, and was lucky enough to compete in my second Olympic Games in 2016 in Rio. And I'm now currently in training for a chance to play in my third Olympic Games in Tokyo, which we know were only supposed to be a few months away, but have now been postponed until next year. So that's a little bit about my journey, I suppose, to becoming, playing my first Olympic Games. And I know that some of you have listened to Sarah and Susie and Brooke and Richie all talk about what excellence means to them. And like I said at the beginning, that's a really cool thing about values, is that they're really personal to you individually, and you can place meaning and understanding on them depending on your experience and what you value. And for me, excellence is a really important value, and I want you to listen super carefully about what I think it means. So for me, excellence is about doing your best and being your best, not the best. Okay, and if you have an idea about what excellence means to you, maybe you could pop it in the comment section and have a read through and see, all the different ideas and understandings about what excellence means to everyone. So excellence for me, I haven't told you yet much about what actually happened when we were playing at the Olympics. So in London in 2012, my first Olympic Games, we were definitely the underdogs. We were ranked 5th in the world, so we weren't really expected to do very well or make the semi-finals, but we did. We played really well in the pool games, and we sort of, played above our expectations. And in the semi-finals, we were up against the best team in the world, and this was Holland at the time. They were awesome. They were almost unbeatable. And we played one of the best games we've ever played as a team. Now, does anyone know what happened? We drew. So we went to extra time. We played 15 minutes of extra time, and still no one scored a goal. So we went to shootouts against the best team in the world at the time, and we lost. And in the following days, we played England for the bronze medal, which still would have been a really awesome achievement, and we lost. And how do you think we felt? Yeah, look, not great. Very disappointed, defeated, and sad. We were super upset. Even though we weren't expected to do very well, we'd come so close to winning a medal. We played the best we ever played, and still weren't able to achieve our dream of winning an Olympic medal. And I think at the time it would have been, really easy to give it up because we worked so hard and didn't quite get to what we were achieving, but we didn't. And the next 4 years we worked really, really hard as a team. We trained and we trained, and we tried to get even better as a team than we were in London. And at the next Olympic Games, we were ranked a little bit higher. I think we were ranked 4th at the time, so there was a little bit more expectation on us to do a bit better. And we did pretty well. We made it through the pool rounds, and again we made the semi-finals, which was really cool. And in Rio we played Great Britain in the semi-finals, and we lost. And so we still had an opportunity to play for the bronze medal, and this was against Germany. And we lost, so we came 4th. So at both of my Olympic Games we came 4th. And again, a lot of the feelings that we experienced in London, we experienced again in Rio. Again, we were so close to winning an Olympic medal. We'd made the semi-finals and we walked away without one. And it would be really, really easy to feel sad and let down. And don't get me wrong, I certainly felt that way. And I was really, really upset and disappointed. And sometimes I still today think about that disappointment, which is totally okay. I think it's okay to sort of experience those different emotions. It shows that it really means something to you. But once again, I had to make a decision and show a bit of, resilience and be determined. So I'm determined to give it another go in Tokyo. Hopefully I'll get the chance to do that. I have to work my way into the team first, because it is an absolute dream of mine to win an Olympic gold medal, especially a gold one. Now, when we think about excellence, we might work really, really, really hard and we might win a medal, which would be awesome. I'd be super happy, really proud. But we also might not, there are 12 teams going to the Olympics and only 3 get medals. We could play the best hockey we've ever played, and the other team might play just a little bit better. There are some things we can't control. Now, if I don't win a medal there, does this make me unsuccessful, as an athlete, as a hockey player? Okay, no. Remember what I said at the start, excellence is about trying your best and being your best, not the best, okay? Excellence is about showing resilience. It's about working hard. It's about living your values and being true to yourself. And what I can control is the way I prepare every single day to give myself the best possible chance at trying to win a gold medal. So if I go to Tokyo and I don't win a medal, but I know I did my best and I know I worked hard and I know I was true to myself and my values and I prepared the best that I possibly could, then I know that I showed that value of excellence, okay? And that's something that I have to remember, okay? Because it's really easy to get wrapped up in the outcomes, and don't get me wrong, a gold medal is certainly what I would love to achieve, but what I need to focus on is what I can control, the way I prepare and how I show excellence every day. I would love to win an Olympic gold medal. This is my Commonwealth Games gold medal. I won this with the Black Sticks team in 2018, and it's something I am really proud of. It was the first time that the Black Sticks had ever won a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games. So I'm really hopeful that I might be able to win an Olympic one next year. And so this idea of excellence and being prepared, it leads me on to my last little bit that I want to talk to you about, and then I'm going to answer some questions because I've seen some really awesome ones popping in, so please keep firing through any questions. I definitely am going to get to answer as many as I can, whether they're about hockey or nutrition. Just fire any of them through. So when I think about giving my best in terms for my preparations for the Tokyo Olympics, there are so many things to consider. I know that I need to be fit. So I need to make sure that I'm doing lots of running and fitness so that I'm as fit as I possibly can be. I know that I need to be skillful. So I need to make sure I know what skills I need to work on and put time into practicing my hockey skills. I know that I need to be tactically smart, so I need to know my game plan. I need to know the opposition's game plan. There are so many areas of preparation that I need to focus on to be able to give my absolute best when I get there. And the one thing that will contribute to all of those areas and help me is nutrition. So nutrition is thinking about, what we're eating and fueling our bodies with. So it's the food we eat every single day, that's used by our body to give us energy. So when we eat food, our body does a really good job at breaking it down and it turns it into fuel. And we use this fuel for absolutely everything, okay? It's not just for running and sports and exercise, okay? Our bodies need energy for everything, whether it's practicing our hockey skills, it needs energy to do our homework, to learn, to think. Our body requires energy for absolutely everything we do. So putting some thought into how we fuel our bodies can make a really big difference in helping us achieve our everyday tasks, to run, to jump, to think, to concentrate, all those sorts of things. And when I think about hockey, nutrition for my hockey, I have to think about what I'm doing before a session or a game, training session or a game. I have to think about what I'm doing during, and I have to think about what I'm doing after. So if I think about before the game or the training, I have to think about getting lots and lots of fueling foods that are going to give me lots of energy to run around. And our fueling foods are things like bananas, brown bread, grainy crackers, brown rice, brown pasta, porridge, cereal. These are all full of carbohydrates that are going to give us lots and lots of energy. So that's what I have to think about during before the game. When I think about during the game, I have to stay hydrated. When we don't drink enough water and we become dehydrated, it affects both our bodies and our minds. So we start to feel tired much quicker. We feel fatigued way faster if we're dehydrated. And it also affects us mentally. So in hockey, I need to be able to think and make decisions really quickly and react to different situations. And if I'm dehydrated, I'm going to be much slower at all those things. And this is going to be even more important in Tokyo next year, when we know it's going to be really hot. So we're going to dehydrate much quicker. And then after the game, my body has used up lots and lots of energy, and my muscles have worked really hard. So I need some carbohydrates, again, to top those fuel stores up. And I also need to eat some protein-rich food to help repair my muscles that have worked really hard. So some awesome recovery foods are things like eggs on toast, maybe a banana smoothie made with milk, maybe some banana and egg pancakes, all these different types of things. Banana and egg pancakes, they're one of my favorite recovery foods, and they're super easy to make. And I'm going to show you now how you can make them. So if you've got a blender, some eggs, a banana, and maybe, a mum or dad or brother or sister who would like to help you make them, have a watch of this video and see if you think you can make them a bit later. Hi guys, my name's Sam. For those of you who already know me, you'll know that cooking is one of my favourite things that I enjoy doing. And being a nutritionist, I love to create food that is good for both fueling and recovering. So I've just finished my exercise for the morning, and I'm going to make one of my favourite recovery foods, which is banana pancakes. For recovery, it's super important that we have some carbohydrates to top up that carbs that we lost during our session, and also get some protein on board to help with that muscle repair and regeneration. One of the best things about banana pancakes is that it doesn't require that many ingredients, and they're usually things that you can find in your cupboard. So I've got one banana, the riper the better, makes it sweeter. I've got 2 eggs, I've got 4 tablespoons of flour. I'm using buckwheat flour, but you can use any flour that you like, or you could also use rolled oats or protein powder if that's what you're used to. And I've also got 1 teaspoon of baking powder. If you want to make them for more than one person or share them with someone else, add in another banana and some more eggs. So when we're thinking about banana pancakes from a recovery perspective, the bananas is where we're getting our carbohydrate from, and our eggs is where we're getting our protein from. When we top them, if we put some yogurt on the top, we're going to get some added protein as well. Cool, so if you think that looks easy enough, maybe you can give that a go. It's a really awesome thing to eat after you've done some exercise, whether it's, playing or going for a run. I obviously got my partner, Marcus Child. He's a member of the New Zealand Black Sticks men's team, to help me out, but he, I don't know if he was very helpful. He smashed an egg on his head and threw it and missed the blender. So maybe you can get your brothers and sisters and, mums and dads to help out, but they might be a little bit better than Marcus was. So just to finish off about nutrition, I think, I'm working on 3 nutrition habits at the moment, and I'm going to share with you kind of how and why I'm doing that. And I want you to listen really carefully, and my challenge to you is to pick one of these habits, and maybe encourage, your brother or sister or mum or dad or to focus on them as well. So the first nutrition habit that I'm trying to focus on at the moment during this, lockdown period is drink more water. I think it's one of the simplest things. People talk about it all the time. They always remind us, but staying hydrated has such a positive impact on our bodies, both physically and mentally, okay? Like I said, it's not just when you're running around, it's when you're trying to think and concentrate. So drink more water. Have a drink bottle around you all the time, or if you don't have a drink bottle, just keep filling that glass up. You can easily remind the people around you to keep drinking more water. It's a really easy habit to to be able to improve, and it's one of my biggest work-ons is to make sure that I'm always staying hydrated. My second nutrition habit that I'm challenging myself and you to also is to eat as many colours as you can in a day. And I'm not talking about colours of biscuits or food colouring that you put into cupcakes. I'm talking about fresh fruit and vegetables. We know that we want to eat, 5+ serves a day, but getting variety in what we're eating is a really, really awesome way to think about our overall kind of health and well-being. So our fruits and veggies have lots of different vitamins and minerals, and if we can get as many colours in as we can, it's going to have a really awesome positive impact on our health and well-being, particularly as we go into winter. It'll help really strengthen our immune system. So you could have a red apple, a yellow banana, a orange capsicum, some green spinach. There's so many different colours if you have a look around. So see how many colours you can get in one day. Try and get as many in as possible. And my last challenge for you is a bit of a funny one, and it's sneaking in some greens. Now, usually it's your parents that try and sneak vegetables into your food. I know that my mum and dad certainly did that when I was younger, but my challenge to you is for you to sneak greens into your own food, okay? And there's so many ways we can do this. And it's really simple, and they actually don't taste like you would think. So one of the really easy ways to do it, so say you're having a banana smoothie, you might just be having a smoothie with some banana, some milk, maybe some berries. Just whack a handful of green spinach in there. I promise you it doesn't taste like anything. It makes it a pretty cool color, but it's a very easy way to sneak greens into something super simple. Another idea is if you're having a meal like spaghetti bolognese. I know that we used to have spag bol heaps when we were growing up. We had it every Monday night. It's a really easy dish to sneak some greens into. So one simple way would be to get some frozen peas and to mix them through the mince. You probably won't taste them much at all because it'll be disguised by the taste of the mince. Or if you've got some courgettes in the fridge, zucchinis, you could grate them into the mince as well. There's some really creative ways that you can do this. So maybe ask mum and dad what they're cooking for dinner this week and see if you can challenge yourself to sneak some greens in. It might even be mashing some peas into some mashed potato, okay, and it actually looks quite funky as well. So I'm going to flick over and see if I can answer some of your awesome questions that I can see have been fired through. I'm sorry if we don't get to all of them or we run out of time, but I'll make sure I go back and answer them later on today. So, questions. I'll flick back. Lots of awesome questions in here. Troy Wong, how do you feel about 2 4th places? It's one of the hardest things that I think I had to deal with in my Olympic experience, as I sort of mentioned before. Obviously so many feelings of disappointment and feeling quite let down. Being so close to a medal, like 4th is the closest you can get without winning one. But I suppose I just have to use that disappointment or those feelings that I had and use them as drive to try and do better next time. And like I said, I'll be giving it my absolute all in terms of my preparations for Tokyo, to give myself the best possible chance of trying to win a medal there. Morena Sam, from all the students in room 35 at Somerville Intermediate, I can see you guys have been tuning into all these talks. That's really awesome. From Oscar, what type of skills does it take to become a pro athlete, and what obstacles have you had to overcome? So obviously you would have heard of me talk about my journey in 2012. So having to kind of overcome, being told that I maybe couldn't do something or I wasn't good enough to do something, and trying to focus on what I could control. But I think in terms of, the skills it takes, it's as much as the physical skills you need. So you need to obviously be able to push yourself physically in terms of like your fitness and your skills. I think it's really having that mental capability as well. So, it's being determined, it's knowing how to deal with setbacks. It's what can you learn from those disappointments. I think, as much as you want to feel those feelings, it's really important. Every time you kind of have a setback or something that's disappointing, see if you can think about something you can learn from it and take forward positively to next time. Theo from room 35 at Somerville Intermediate, what kind of mindset do you use when you're working out? And if you were to do another sport besides hockey, what would that sport be? Probably volleyball was my favorite, my second favorite sport when I was at school. I really enjoyed that, and I got to play it with some of my really good friends. And mindset when I'm working out, especially when I'm doing my fitness sessions, I have my session, and when I get to the end, I always make sure I do one more. So say I'm doing sets of running for 30 seconds, my very last set I'll do for a minute instead of 30 seconds, or I might put the level up on the treadmill and try and run a bit faster. So my mindset is that I always want to try and do more than I thought I could, and I think that really helps me to push myself. So I've got my session, and I always just try and do that little bit extra. I have been playing hockey for 23 years. Great maths, guys. Where is your favourite place to play? From Lockie Reed. I think one of my favourite places would probably be Argentina. Although the crowd is never on your side, it's such an amazing experience because hockey in Argentina is such a massive sport. They've always got thousands of people in the crowd, and they're a really exciting crowd. You know, they cheer a lot, and even though they don't cheer for you when you score, it's just a really cool vibe to be a part of. And then probably after that would be in the Netherlands. That is saying hockey is such a big sport over there, and they get really cool crowds, and everyone there really loves hockey. They're huge fans. I've got a question from John Foley. What influence have your parents had on your sports career? What is your advice to parents on how they can help their children's personal development and enjoyment of sport? Big question, but I think it's really important to have that balance of trying to, for me, I think it was instilling a sort of sense of self-responsibility. You know, they weren't going to hold my hand and do things with me the whole time. Like if I needed to get fit, they'd obviously encourage me to go for a run, but it was up to me to kind of make that happen. They weren't going to do everything for me. And I think being taught those lessons of, you know, how to be responsible for yourself has really made me sort of be able to drive myself personally later on. So yeah, I think being responsible for yourself, but also you have to be encouraging and ensure that they're actually enjoying what they're doing. I think there's no point in playing sport if you're not enjoying it. You know, there's obviously going to be times where it's maybe less enjoyable because that's just the nature of things, but certainly making sure that you're enjoying what you're doing, and helping to encourage them to sort of have that drive, that self-responsibility, because when times get tough, you want to make sure that you can do all those things yourself. More questions here. Sarah Cully Ross. Hi, Sarah. Where were you born and brought up? I did half of I did my primary school in Auckland, and then when I was intermediate, I moved to Tauranga, which was really awesome. I love being from Tauranga now. At the time, it was really difficult because I didn't have any friends down there, so it was a big change in my life, but I did my intermediate and my high school in Tauranga, and now I'm back living in Auckland, training with the Black Sticks. Interested to know snacks and healthy snacks relate to the fact that exercise makes you hungry. So healthy snacks that don't rely on junk food. So my biggest thing that I try and share or teach people is get into the habit of not relying on food, particularly snacks that are out of a packet. The more food that we can prepare ourselves, the better off we're going to be. So most of the things that don't come in a packet are things like our fresh fruits and veggies, or things we might have had to put together to bake. And I know that sometimes in our busy lives, we don't feel like we have time to do that, but lockdown's probably the perfect sort of time to engage in some of those things. They might take a little bit more preparation. So cutting up some veggie sticks and having it with hummus, or having a nice grainy cracker with some cheese, or some fresh fruit and some peanut butter. And there's so many things that we can focus on. But I think if you're a little bit lost, the thing to remember is, less stuff out of a packet, prepare more food from scratch, and you'll be doing a pretty good job. From my brother, what impact did siblings have on your hockey career? I'm very fortunate that I have a brother and sister who are both really, really supportive and encouraging of me. I think when we were younger, we were very competitive, particularly my brother. He was also a really, talented sports person, and my sister also played hockey. So we were always playing games against each other, and so I think I got my competitive nature from, playing sports in the backyard against them. And in my later years, they've been extremely supportive. I feel very lucky to have my brother and my sister. I know they'd do anything to help me in my journey. So there you go, Chris. Do a few more questions. Who was the funniest player in the team from Braid and Lindsay? I think there's probably a few people who would like to be crowned with that title. I think Rose Cadell likes to think of herself as quite a funny person, and she enjoys when you laugh at her jokes. So if you ever get to meet Rosie and she tells you a joke, make sure you laugh. It makes her feel really good. And one of our other teammates, Grace O'Hanlon, she's a pretty funny chick as well. So I'm lucky that I've got 25 awesome girls in my squad that I get to hang out with all the time. But I think probably Rose and Grace would be up there with some of the funniest. What position do I play in hockey? From Jamie, who is a goalie. I play more in the midfield. I probably started earlier on as a defender, but I've moved my way up a little bit. My favourite position to play is centre half, so I like to be involved in a lot of things and get to run around the field a lot. We love watching the Black Sticks hockey games as we're related to Olivia Shannon. My niece Luca is a very keen hockey player. Olivia Shannon's just come into the team the last 2 years, and she's having a really awesome impact already, so that's really cool. Mackenzie Reed, how do you feel when you walk into the field? I still feel really nervous and excited every single time I take the field, no matter the opposition or the game. And I think, it's okay to feel nervous sometimes. Like, I think those are the sorts of feelings that help really drive your want to improve all the time and make sure that you're giving your all in every single game. So, yeah, I feel nervous and excited, but if I wasn't feeling those feelings, I think I'd be a bit worried because it probably wouldn't mean as much to me as it does. Every single game I played, I've been fortunate enough to play over 200 games for my country that I get excited every single time I get to take the field, and at the moment we haven't been able to do that very much, so I'm hoping I get the opportunity to do that very soon. We'll do a few more questions. Emma Barrett, what is the direct impact of COVID-19 lockdown on your training and build up to the Olympics? Very good question. So we are currently not training together as a team, and we won't be for at least the next 2 months. Unfortunately, obviously the restrictions that we are all making sure that we, abide by means that all the turfs are closed, and obviously we don't want to be training in groups because we want to make sure that we're keeping our bubbles nice and small. But it doesn't mean that we don't have lots of training that we're doing at home. So our team and staff around us have put together a really awesome program to ensure that we're trying to replicate as many things as we can. So whether it's doing shuttles and running or some home workouts or even doing some skills at home, they're making sure that they're giving us the tools and the knowledge to do everything we can so that when we do come back to training, we're in as sort of a good a place as we possibly can be and we can get right back to it. It means that a lot of our games have been put on hold, so we had lots of games that were supposed to be coming up, but we obviously won't be probably playing any international games until at least the end of the year, because people can't travel around the world at the moment. So we're just doing what we can, focusing on what we can control, which is the way we train by ourselves and trying to get as much out of that individual training as possible. Okay, I'll do 2 last questions. I know I said I'd only do 2 more, but one more. Okay, one more question. If you were to specialise in any other sport, which one would you choose? I think I said before volleyball. I loved volleyball. It was really athletic and required lots of different skills, so something that I really enjoyed doing. So that's all we have time for, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed listening to a little bit about my journey and kind of what I'm focusing on coming up in my preparations for the Tokyo Games. So hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll try and answer some of the questions that I didn't answer later on this afternoon. Bye, guys.